Hello, my fellow viewers of Hey, Have You Seen That Film? You know who we haven't talked about for a while, which I talk a lot about on this channel. If you go back, you'll see Tom Selleck. Again, I find his work greatly underappreciated, and it deserves more credit than it gets. I mean, he does have his hits, and he does have the movies that we still talk about, but today we're going to talk about Mr. Baseball from 1992, one that I thoroughly enjoyed as I watched it. Mr. Baseball is the story of Jack Elliott, aka Tom Selleck, who plays for the New York Yankees. And he's he's down. His career is kind of going down. He's hit the slumps, he's not doing it anymore. And he actually gets traded. Not for any team within the United States, but for the Dragons in Japan. So he goes from being an all-star baseball player in America to becoming a baseball player in Japan, where he doesn't speak the language, he doesn't know the culture, and quite frankly, he doesn't really want to even try to learn the culture. When he gets there, he clashes with his new coach. They don't see eye to eye. There's only one other member on the team who's American, who quickly realizes or knows that Jack doesn't know what's going on and is kind of there to help him understand, what's culturally appropriate and how the baseball's a little bit different than in America. For example, they only play up to the 9 innings, and once that 9 innings, if it's a tie, it's a tie, and they all go home. And obviously, to Tom Selleck's character Jack, we have to play the game. You can't have a tie in baseball. Somebody's got to win. But he's also becomes friends with a publicist for the team, or a reporter, and he becomes more than friends. He and this lady become infatuated with each other and start to begin spending a lot more time together. And she as well is kind of teaching Jack more about the culture and how he needs to appreciate where he's at, because he makes it very obvious and very clear to everyone that he hates where he is and he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't play as a team member. All these different things that, in a way, it was interesting to see Tom Selleck play the jerk, but we'll get to that in a second. So, in some regards with the tradition of sports movies, it's one of those ones where he's got to learn to be a team player and not, the big, I can do this, I can hit home runs all day long. And he's got to learn to work with the coach and the rest of the team in order to humble himself and enjoy his experience in Japan. And that is a brief plot overview of Mr. Baseball, again released in 1992. This was the film that, right afterwards, Tom Selleck actually took a 3-year break from acting to be with family, something that I respect a lot about him, and something that he's very big about to this day is making sure that he's there for his family, which is so cool. I just respect that a lot about Tom Selleck. But the movie itself, I thought it was a really funny movie, and it was really well done. I'll talk about what I enjoy before I talk about what I didn't enjoy. Again, Tom Selleck was a bit of a snob and a bit of a jerk in this movie because he did not want to be in Japan. So it was interesting to see. Typically, me at least, I picture Tom Selleck, and he's just this lovable, kind man in a lot of what he does. Magnum P.I., 3 Men and a Baby. In Magnum P.I., obviously he clashed with Higgins and could get a little rude. But this movie, he was rude. He was very rude to people. And I think, from my perspective, it looked, I could tell that Tom Selleck was having fun. I thought, at least, it seemed that he was enjoying the role that he was playing. It's something that I enjoy about Tom Selleck. Is anything I watch him in, I feel like he's giving it his all, regardless of the quality of the film or how the film plays out. He will give it his all, and that's something I admire about him, and something that makes this film great. Is it just seems that Tom Selleck's having fun, he's enjoying his time. I enjoy learning a little bit more about the culture in Japan from this movie. A lot of the things that we see Tom Selleck do are breaking social norms in Japan. So for me, it was like, it was just cool to see that they included that in the film, that it wasn't like he just came over and everything was okay. Like, he had to be shown, like, you can't do that, you can't say that, that's disrespectful. So I appreciate that they added that aspect into the movie, and that they didn't just make it like, oh, he's in Japan and everybody likes him and yada yada, everything's fine. When it's like, no, he's never been there, it's going to be a huge culture shock, and he's got to learn. So that was great. And I enjoyed the cast of characters. I think the relationships that Tom Selleck builds throughout the movie with some of the more main cast were great. And you can say in some ways they might play to like the typical like Hollywood type stuff, like, he's got to, he and his girlfriend kind of clash, he and the coach clash, and he's got to, figure out how to work with them, and the whole being a team aspect. Like, it's a sports movie, so of course, not every sports movie, so I'm not going to say of course, but there's definitely a lot of sports movies, there's that we got to work as a team kind of thing, and when it works out, they start doing super well and winning their games. The one thing about this movie that is a bit of like a bummer is the ending, it just kind of ends. Like, towards the end, there's something big that happens, and it's being discussed, and it's going to cause some big changes for some of the characters in the film. And suddenly it just, it's briefly talked about, but like decisions aren't made, or we don't really understand the decisions that are made, and then suddenly it cuts this ending scene. And at least for myself and my wife, we were left a little confused, like, wait a second, so what happened there? How did we get to this point? So that's where it loses some points for me, because I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of just connecting the dots so we could understand what happened, because it was, in my mind, it was a bit of a big thing that was brought up, and then we just didn't get to see all that happened to play it out. And it wasn't like that to spend another 30 minutes with the movie doing it, but at least a few more minutes just so we could have understood, oh, here's where we are now. That would have made me enjoy it just a little bit more. But like I said, it really was a fun movie. My wife and I enjoyed it. We laughed a lot at it. Tom Selleck, as I said, he just seems like he's having fun. He's just being goofy in this movie. Tom Selleck has always been great at comedic roles. Something that, I don't know. I think what's great about Tom Selleck is it's not like he belongs to a genre of film. He's traveled all around and done a few different things, so it doesn't mean like you can't say he's an action star, comedic star. He's done a few different things, so it's nice about Tom Selleck is you get a variety within the films that he did. So, a fun fact, to train with this film, Tom Selleck trained with the Detroit Tigers, a team that he's been a lifelong fan of. If you ever watched Magnum P.I., he's got his Detroit Tigers hat, baseball cap that he wears as his character. And so he was able to train with them, and he actually had baseball cards made for himself while he was in training, so they're still out there. I don't have one, but I know that they were made, and Tom Selleck's got his own baseball card. So, anyways, if you enjoy sports movies, especially sports comedies, I would recommend this movie because it's just a fun, let's just kick back and laugh a little bit. That's what this movie is. It's an enjoyable watch, so I recommend it. But I recommend most things with Tom Selleck in it because something about him, he's just got a certain charm. But anyways, thank you for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this review, and I would love to hear your thoughts about the film. If you've seen it already, or if you haven't seen it yet, watch it and let me know. If you haven't already, subscribe down below so you can keep hearing my reviews or my personal opinions about films. Random, obscure films. That's what I try to go for. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.